women offer the soft perspective and men offer the hard, but it's still love and it's still necessary. Me and my mom would like sit up on a weekend night and just all night just talk to each other.
Even if the child is off doing whatever, God's covering can still be over them simply because you're praying for them.
Seems like the world already got your power figured out, but I'm still trying to understand why I'm still at your mercy now. Born into December, when I cry, you probably heard the way. You breathe into my nose and show my soul and blow the dirt away. God, I'm trying to understand, cause I've been trying to live for you, but lately it's been hard to do.
Grace and peace to you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. It is Sunday afternoon and it is time for another Millennial Christian Conversation. I am Wayne Jr. and this is my co-host Nandi. And today, what's so funny?
I just know something that
no. Okay. And today we plan on having a very special episode.
Right.
Before we get started, we want to wish all the mothers in the audience a very happy Mother's Day.
Look at y'all doing it.
Today is not Mother's Day, but when this episode drops, it will be Mother's Day. Well, this episode drops on Mother's Day, so
that's what he claims. I don't know how true it is.
Wow. So anyway, we're gonna have an episode for mothers. We're gonna do a Mother's Day episode.
Yay.
All right. Okay. Yes. So happy Mother's Day. It's, as it turns out, we have a mother here with
what's
us.
Happening now? As it turns out.
So you know what?
Okay, go ahead.
Let's start with what does being a Christian mother mean to you?
I don't know what you're asking me, so I'm just gonna say something.
Okay.
Okay. Being a Christian mom has made me like, I try to be more patient and understanding rather than like dictatorship kind of situation.
Ida.
Yeah, just do what I said and that's the end of it. And then there's consequences if you don't, versus actually like having like talking to them. So yesterday I took Trinity out on a little mommy daughter day. Oh child, she's gonna be expensive as a child, as a woman, because man. And so we went to go get something to eat, and she was like, well, can I play on the phone? I said, no, you got to talk to me. And she was like, okay, I can do that. And I was like, thank you, because it felt like you couldn't. So just like getting to know them as like their own person. God blessed us with children, and we should be raising them up in the way that they should go. But like that means that they're an entirely unique person that God saw fit to put on this earth. And so I want to get to know them. So I spend a lot of time just like talking to them. And I feel like I do that because as a Christian, I care about their upbringing. I care about pouring into them, and I care about who they become in the future.
Right.
I don't know. I hope that answered your question. It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that.
Excuse me.
You know, it kind of hits on, you know, the difference between like what it's like to be a Christian mother versus just a mother. You know, because there are certain, I'd say, expectations of Christian mothers. I mean, I guess of mothers in general, but like God has certain expectations for parents, but you know, mothers, they serve a very vital role in the household.
Right.
But if you're not a Christian, if you're not a believer, then that probably doesn't matter to you. But as someone who is a Christian and is a believer, those things do matter. And so, you know, I would imagine that they would hold a lot of weight on like determining how you approach motherhood and how you would approach, you know, dealing with the kids, and when it comes to whether it's discipline or, you know, corrective action, just loving them, raising them up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
we weren't very super prepared today, but do you feel like motherhood is for everyone?
No.
Why not?
Well, I feel like I said that very fast. I feel like God did call us to be fruitful and multiply.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You need women to bring forth the fruit. You need men to help with all that. Right. I feel like some people have really struggled with motherhood, though. I feel like not everybody's had good examples of motherhood, and so it kind of creates this cycle of like bad mothers, I guess, or people that just like should not have had children. And I can think of like abuse cases and things like that. But even outside of abuse, people who like have not been there emotionally or mentally for their children, but they provide physically, like they're not starving, but they also don't have a connection. So I feel like some people just may not have needed to do that. And I actually commend women when they say they don't want kids, and like they say that early on in life, like in their early 20s or teens and whatever. Like, oh, I don't want kids because I know I'm selfish. Like, okay, well, at least you know, and you don't bring a child into the world knowing that you're not going to provide for them well. Like, I can appreciate when people have that kind of self-awareness. Now, I've also noticed that these women typically aren't Christian that say that.
Okay.
So to say that I know that I'm selfish, that means that you're not a selfless person, which is something that Christ calls us to, to give and to be of service to others and to not think about yourself. So I found that to be kind of like a caveat or something, if that makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think I would agree, back in the day, it was kind of expected.
Yeah.
Like in ancient times and Bible times, it was basically, I think for men and women, it was expected that, hey, you're going to get married and you're going to have kids because that's just what you do.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the culture is a lot different. And, the command was be fruitful and multiply. I think we've done that quite well as a species.
We're doing it.
And so I do think that that's still like that commandment is still on us as a species, as humankind. However, I don't think that necessarily every single person, like every single individual person has to do that. And, honestly, I think one thing that does speak to that is the fact that we already know that having kids has to be within the confines of marriage, right? Because sex outside of marriage is very much frowned upon in the Bible.
Right.
And
we didn't do that, but
we didn't do, oh yeah.
He's like, what didn't we do? Yes, that.
And Jesus himself, when he talks about marriage, he talks about, he says, when he's talking about like divorce, and he says, Moses allowed you to divorce because of hardness of your hearts. From the beginning, it wasn't that way, and so on. And his disciples are like, hey, if this is the case, then it's better to just not get married, because this is a big, it's a big thing that you're putting on me. Like, if you telling me if I get married, I have to stay with this same woman for the rest of my life, no matter what. Like, that's a lot. Yep. And Jesus basically says, he talks about eunuchs as a metaphor. And he says, there are people who are born eunuchs. There are people who become eunuchs, and there are people who choose to be eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom. And basically what he's saying is that, and then he goes on to say, what do you say? Not everyone who hears this can accept it, or something like that, but it's for the one who can. Basically what he's saying is, if you can't handle that responsibility, don't get married.
Yeah.
And so from that, we can kind of conclude that, okay, if you can't handle the responsibility of marriage to be with that person forever and all that, then don't get married. And if you're not getting married, then you're not having kids.
Yeah. I also find it, I guess, supportive to say that there were women in the Bible that were barren or like that had never had children. One of David's wives, her womb was closed up because she was, talking about him dancing. Rachel for a long time was barren. Sarah for a long time was barren. I would even venture to say probably the woman with the issue of blood had never had kids because she had been dealing with that issue for so long. She was unclean. I mean, she had not laid with a man. Right. And so God's will was still being done, though. And I was just reading in Chronicles. I'm trying to find where it says it, but it's going through all these people who begat and had children. But there would be times where it would say that this person didn't have kids, but their brother did. Or I was trying to find it just now, but for some reason I just can't find it. But there will be times where people will have 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, and then that firstborn son didn't have children, but the secondborn did. And so I feel like we're still living out the commandment to be fruitful and multiply. But not everybody had that ability. Some people's life circumstances, people who were demon possessed, I'm pretty sure they were not there having kids. Maybe
unless they had kids already, or maybe they had kids, like maybe they got freed and had kids afterwards.
Right. So
and even like you said with the woman with the issue of blood, we don't know much about her situation, like outside of
that piece of the story.
Because she could have had a husband before
this happened. Right.
Maybe not. But even after, like, once she was healed, she could have went and then got a husband and then got pregnant.
Right.
We don't know, but what we do know is, like you said, if she's having that issue of blood, she'd be considered unclean. And so she definitely wouldn't be sleeping with anyone. Even if she had a husband, she wouldn't be sleeping with her husband.
Right.
And then, there's women who are barren. And so we know, I mean, if you're barren, you can't have kids.
Yeah.
So you're not having kids.
Right.
But that doesn't take away from your value, obviously, as a woman.
Yeah.
Because your value comes from being created in the image of God.
Amen.
End of story. So whether or not you have kids, your value is still the same.
Yeah. You're not supposed to do what I do. I don't know. I don't have the notes. I'm being asked.
I know. I had something in my, because you said something that sparked a thought, and I can't remember it.
Okay.
So let's move on to what do you think is the role of a mother versus the role of a father? Like, how do you feel like those roles kind of differ?
I think that God created women with a particular nature, and I think God created men with a particular nature. And I feel like that's even evident in Genesis with the creation of man and then woman. Men being like the provider, being the main one out there in the field, kind of doing the hard labor. Not to say that women couldn't do hard labor, but that was Adam's first situation anyway. You go out there and name it. Y'all keep the land, well, and don't eat of this fruit. And that was pretty much it. And then after sin, he still had the job of keeping the land well, and the sweat of his brow was the only way he was going to eat, and all those kinds of things. And so women being the helpmate, I'm here to like help you, nurture you, make sure that you stay on your feet, because you're out there toiling and tilling all day, and I'm just sitting here in the shade. I mean, like, what kind of help is that? So I feel like moms or mothers are supposed to be the nurturers. They're like caregiving. Again, not to say that women can't work. I work and still do all that right there. I feel like a lot of times women, I don't know, they have this inclination towards children in a lot of a softer way, or like oh, you scraped your knee, all this, okay, and then dads are like, all right, you're fine. Move on with your life kind of thing. So I feel like they offer women offer the soft perspective and men offer the hard, but it's still love and it's still necessary, and you can't have too much hard or it's going to make a person, very hard. You can't have too much soft or it'll make a person too soft. You need a balance of both, and I think that's the importance of having both.
Yeah, and I think even just scientifically speaking, that's been reaffirmed. Women tend to be more feminine, men masculine, and it results in kind of different approaches, different ways of looking at different situations. So I think, like you said, the women kind of has a more nurturing and soft approach when it comes to certain things, whereas a man typically has a more tough outlook, and not necessarily like tough as in like bad, like, oh, you need to get over it and whatever, but like you said, for example, like a child scrapes their knee, here comes the mother with the, it's okay, let me help you up, let me dress your wound and that kind of thing. And then the father kind of comes along to be like, all right, that's enough of this, and again, not in a bad way, but like there is a time for like recognizing what happened, dealing with what happened, emotionally and all that, and even being comforted, and then there is a time for you to move on.
Get up.
But seriously, so, and I feel like that's kind of
I wasn't move on with your life. Get up.
For lack of a better way of saying it.
I mean,
even in the Bible, there is a specific set period of time for mourning. I'm trying to remember how long it was. You can find it in the Old Testament, but there is a period of time that is set aside for mourning, and then after that, move on. Like don't continue to dwell on what's happened. It is okay to, address the emotion that's involved. It's okay to, address the situation and go through those things. But if you stay there too long, you're going to be stuck there. Right. And so, yeah, I also agree with you as far as, mothers kind of have that, like that instinct, for parenting and for, just mothering. They have that like female intuition, but it's
my uterus speaks.
It's a real, it's actually a real thing though, because women, generally speaking, have, they're more in tune to like being able to pick up on, cues of like if somebody's going through something emotionally. Women are more adept at noticing those subtle cues of, are you okay? Kind of thing. Whereas men, not so much.
They'd be like, I don't
know. And not to say that, all men are just emotionally detached, but just generally speaking, women are better at noticing those kinds of things, and that's backed by science. So all that to say, I agree.
It's funny because I feel like, well, I'm sure, because when I was going through my bachelor's program in psychology and everything, they were talking about human like characteristics and like how girls are raised to be more emotionally attuned, and so like they're more aware of people's emotional states, and they can recognize when someone is distressed or hurt, upset and things, and they're given Barbie dolls to feed and take care of and to nurture and to make sure that it's okay and things like that, versus boys who are given trucks and cars and dinosaurs and run outside and you scrape your knee but get up and all that, whereas girls are like, okay, sweetheart, come on, sit down and lay your head on my shoulder and cry it out. and
Right.
boys are kind of like, you're okay, keep going, move.
Yeah, let's go, get up.
And I feel like it kind of plays into how they grow up and then how they become adults and subsequently parents. It's okay, girls are, oh, my child is crying, let me hold them close and, you know, comfort them and dress their wounds and encourage them gently, and then they'll go off and be great butterflies later, and then men are like, it fell out of the tree, keep going. Just get it up.
You're all right.
Go. Yeah, and you're not broken, so move on. So I feel like I said, I feel like both demeanors are necessary, because like I said, you can't, I wouldn't suggest having it too rough in life, because that's just going to make it to where when you are hurting, instead of actually dealing with the emotions and going through your emotions, you're just kind of stuffing them and moving on, and that's not healthy.
Right.
Also, at the same sense, you can't be overly pressing into emotions, because then you're going to be so emotionally distraught by everything that you're never going to have like resilience or perseverance.
Right. It's going to be like all emotion, and then
No
you
logic.
don't have anything to
Stand on.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have anything outside of that emotion to help you get through the
Right.
emotion.
So I feel like both are necessary.
And I think especially for men, it kind of shows that importance of having a mother figure. Especially when you think about the fact that men are less inclined to be emotionally, you know, aware and stuff.
Right.
It's important to have that mother figure to help you, you know, find your softer side, because
Yeah.
you know, we talk about it's still unhealthy to just stuff emotions, and I think a lot of men, especially nowadays, have that issue. And I mean, you can maybe try to attribute it to a ton of things, but that's the importance of having that mother figure to kind of show you like, hey, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel this emotion. And yeah, you got the father figure to come in and be like, all right, come on, you good. It's okay. You're fine. Go. But at the same time, you don't want that child to grow up thinking, oh, I can never be emotional. You know, like if I'm upset, I just got to suck it up, be a man and deal with it. That's a very unhealthy mindset that I think a lot of men have nowadays. And it's harmful, not just to them, but to our society.
Yeah.
Because now we got a lot of men out there that are just not okay. And it boils over into their relationships, and they're hurt because they don't know how to deal with their emotions. And so now they're hurting other people. And it's just a cycle of abuse in a sense.
Yeah. 1000%. And it's sad to think if we could just raise our children to be better social and emotionally aware people, we wouldn't have to double back to do the work when we're adults. If I give you the tools now to express yourself in a healthy way and to have perseverance, because I mean, I'm not going to say that every time our kids fall that I'm just like, oh, you know, come here. Sometimes I'm like, get up, because you're not hurt.
You're fine.
Please get up. Don't keep coming over here. Now, if I see that you actually have hurt yourself, like you have a cut, you have a scrape, you didn't broke a bone, I'm absolutely going to be like, okay, like let's get this addressed. So there needs to be a healthy balance of it, because if not, you raise emotionally unhealthy people.
Right.
So if all I've been taught is my emotions don't matter and that I need to not cry or suck it up, then when I become a man or a woman later in life, I'm going to not cry. I'm just going to suck it up, or I'm going to do unhealthy things to try to numb the pain. Like that's why we get men that become alcoholics or drug users or womanizers, because you haven't dealt with the emotional side of you. You've dealt with the toughness, and they could be the most swole people in the world, but deep down they're actually hurting and they don't know how to express that.
Yeah.
Same in reverse. We become too emotional, and so every little thing, oh, they're not my friend, and that means they're not supposed to be your friend. Like, but they have to grow into that. But if we're always coddling and, oh, well, you know, it's okay, and maybe if you're just nice to them. No, sometimes that's cool. Move on. So we need to be, as parents, keeping their future in mind. If I coddle too much, not good. If I'm too hard, also not good. There needs to be a healthy balance of discipline and love. Even though discipline is love, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
So this hurts.
I think this
okay, there we go.
Isaiah 66:13 kind of speaks to this a bit. As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you, and you will be comforted over Jerusalem. Now, this is really God talking to the Israelites in exile.
Right.
But basically the idea is it's as a mother comforts her child. And it kind of lends to that idea of the mother is the more comforting, parental figure.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, the Bible will paint this picture of men being the protectors, the providers, and all that. And then the mothers are the caretakers, the even a lot of times teachers. Even though it kind of attributes the role of, raising the kids and teaching them and all that to both parents, you kind of get this idea from scripture that mothers are the ones that are like you have men that are over the church and responsible for teaching doctrine and leading the church and stuff like that. And then the women are kind of over helping teach and bring up other women as well as the children in their household and, in the church and the community.
I wonder if that's why a lot of women are teachers.
I think so, because I think, again, we go back to women are a bit more, they're better equipped to deal with children, I think. And even like when you see male teachers, it's typically at the upper grades, professors, high school, middle school teachers. Like as you get younger and younger, is like less and less men there.
I agree.
And even when you have the men at the younger, like even elementary school and stuff, right? They're the coaches and, like PE teachers and stuff like that. So, I definitely think that is the reason, is that women are more inclined to go into that kind of profession because just naturally, due to how women were created, it just fits their, biology, their, the way they think, the way they behave. It just fits all of that better than it does for men. And they're better at it, typically, generally speaking, obviously.
I'm finna say, wow. I'm joking.
But I mean, it's just like saying like, men are better fighters, generally speaking. But I mean, men generally are stronger, faster, all that, like physically. But I mean, you got Ronda Rousey's out there kicking butt. You know what I'm saying? So
Rousey's?
Because I mean, people like Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, she's. I wouldn't fight her. I would not.
I wouldn't fight her.
I would not put myself in the ring with her. I'd be like, ma'am, I don't know how many medals you need, but here you go.
But I think in our society, we tend to try to get rid of or like ignore the differences between men and women, and that's not healthy. I don't think that's healthy, because it's through our differences that we create a better society. I agree. Because men can't do things that women can do, and women can't do things that men can. And it was God created us like that on purpose to complement each other. Yeah. And
we all have a purpose. We all have a reason to be here, and we all serve in a way. Like even the spiritual gifts, not everybody has the same gift. Right. But they all serve the body in its own way. You don't have a body full of ears. You don't have a body full of hands, because you wouldn't function as a body. Exactly. If we're all the same, then what's the point? Even in the Trinity, each God figure has a specific role, but they're still God. But they each have their own tasks and they have their own thoughts and the way that they do things, but they still work for the good together, if that makes sense. So I agree. I agree.
So
every time you say so, I get a little nervous.
Why?
Because I feel like you're about to ask me a deep question that I haven't thought about.
Maybe, probably.
I can't wait for Father's Day.
How do you think being a mother has deepened your walk with Christ?
Because I need him to deal with these kids. Have you seen your children?
I have.
Okay, then there you go.
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
Well, I need patience. I need discernment. I need discipleship. I need somebody else to be a mom first so I can see what it's done. Yeah, because taking care of other people's kids is different than your own.
Ain't it though?
Because I'm like,
ain't it though?
Every time they open their mouth, I be like, I don't know. Did I do right? Am I messing up? Because what? Yeah. But yeah, I actually need God to help me do this the right way. Because if not, no. I remember how I was raised and how there's things about my childhood that weren't great. And I feel like had both of my parents been like in the church, it wouldn't have been that way. And I feel like it would have changed my outlook on life or like how I do certain things. And that's without me going way down the list of life. But I feel like I legitimately need him. And if not, then I would probably be doing a lot of the same things that happened in my life, if that makes sense. So I need him to keep me sane and whole and, dependent. Right. Patient.
Where do you pull your, like, I forgot the right way to ask this. Like, when it comes to like examples of motherhood or like how to be a mother, where do you get that like inspiration from? Whether it's, somebody like your mother or a mother figure or books, the Bible, like, whatever.
Well, the Bible is fresh to me, so I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I think, excuse me, something that I learned like early on in teaching was this method of take the meat, leave the bones, which is like people will give you advice no matter where you are, no matter what level you're at. And some stuff they're going to tell you or give you is going to be helpful and fruitful, and some stuff is not. Same thing with motherhood. I take certain things from my upbringing with my mom, like my open door policy. Like I try not to close the door when I'm awake and the kids can just come in, and if they want to just sit and talk, I will literally stop what I'm doing and sit and talk to them, because my mom offered me that when I didn't necessarily see that being done in other households in my family. So me and my mom would, like, even as a teen, we could sit up on a weekend night and just all night just talk to each other. And it would be real conversations like, Mom, this is what's happening. Like, I don't know what to do about this and this. And she would listen to me intently and stop whatever she was doing. We would have a conversation, and it wasn't she's still scrolling on her phone and kind of listening to me. No, we would be like engaging with each other, and it was something that other people saw be like a strong foundation in our relationship. They'd be like, dang, she really respects you, or like talking about me to my mom. I'm like, oh, she really respects you and she really listens to you. And she'd be like, yeah, we talk to each other. I'm not just dictating to her. She's a person. And I feel like that's something that I want to do with our kids. So even though they be getting on my nerves and they be real trying and stuff sometimes, even now, like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If they run up to me and Wayne reminds me a lot of myself, and he's like, Mommy, and I can see the inquisitive, and I want to engage with my mom. I put my phone down. If I'm on TV, I will pause it. If I'm on the game, I'll pause it, just so they'll know that they have somebody to talk to. And my grandma, I used to say a lot, I wanted to be like her. I don't necessarily want to be like her. She's kind of rough too.
She might see this now.
Huh?
I said she might see this now.
She gonna be all right. I know how to run. I know how to run. She's not gonna get me unless I let her get me. But she always was honest with us. Like, it didn't matter if it was painful, but it was true. And she had always had faith ever since I had known her. She was a woman of God, you know. And that's kind of where I get my honesty from. Like, I will not lie to our kids. I might not tell them just full on stuff because you know they have a certain capacity as kids, but I don't care what it was, she was honest. And it might have been hurtful, it might have been tough love time, or it might have just been soft love time, but she didn't shy away from telling us the truth about life, about God, about our own shortcomings or whatever, I guess. But yeah, so honesty and open door is something that I learned.
That's honestly amazing. No, seriously, like that's really good. And it's funny you mentioned take the meat, leave the bone, and it actually reminded me of scripture.
Okay, go ahead.
Where it says, this is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, and starting at verse 20, it says, "Do not utterly reject prophecies, but examine everything, hold firmly to that which is good, abstain from every form of evil." And so that kind of
like it.
makes me think of that. Take the meat, leave the bone. It's like I'm examining what's being said, and if there's any good in it, I'm going to take that. I'm going to hold on to that. If there's any evil, I'm going to reject that. You know, and so I think it's great that even though you can recognize that there may have been some not so great aspects of, you know, your upbringing, you can still take the good things and say, I want to duplicate that and implement that
Right.
with my kids, with my family.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I had a good mom. She's not dead. I'm sorry. I had to think about it. I was like, had, like what?
Like, once upon a time she was good.
She was out there. Yeah. Good people.
And it's nice because you can tell that there was a lot of love, even with, you know, some of the things that y'all have gone through. And, you know, we're not gonna go into detail unless you want to, but even with a lot of the things that y'all have gone through, you can tell that there was still a lot of love in the household.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's something that a mother tends to provide. Not that fathers don't love their kids, but I think that expression of love towards the children is something that mothers do exceedingly well. You know, I think for a father, the love kind of comes out as, you know, more often than not as that kind of tough love of, you know, discipline and, hey, I'm providing for you, you know, the whole like, I allow you to live here, you know.
I
allow you to eat my food. Like, you know, whereas a mother is a lot more, I feel like, personable with her kids. Yeah. And again, not to say that fathers can't or don't do that, but it just seems to come so much more naturally with mothers. Yeah.
Yeah. Honorable mention. My cousin Poopie. I actually call her my second mom because for a while I actually was living with her, and it was kind of like a unspoken that I was living there. I just kind of started kind of thing. And I really do think she looks at me as like her first child because I'm older than her son. And she, I think, had kind of like a hard side, but also a really like sweet side. So you can really go to her and really ask for anything, and she might do a lot of fussing at first. And I'd be like, so anyway, when I want this, can you give me this? And she loves kids. She's really good at, you know, getting kids to build trust, and she made growing up fun. Like, I love to be around her. Even now, like, the next time I go to Sparta, I'm going to see my mom and I'm going to see her. Like, my mom's.
Always.
Right. And it's
I don't know what I can't think of a time that you've gone to Sparta and don't go see Puba.
Right. So I mean, yeah. But even when like I wasn't with my mom or I wasn't with my dad, I was with her. And so she treated me like I was her daughter. And even with like the food she keeps at home, it's like, so what y'all want to eat today? I'm making this, I'm making that. I'm like, oh yeah, that sound good. Like, let's do this. And we'll just go have fun with her. So and I appreciate that she still does that to this day. So like when Wayne and Trinity was born, she had the 4-wheelers, they had all kinds of toys out there. She was buying outfits. I'm talking about bags of clothes. I'm like, ma'am, these ain't even your grandkids for real. Calm down. But she just has an outpouring heart. She don't like to tell y'all. I'm sorry, but I'm telling it. So
She don't like to tell y'all.
She don't like, she don't want y'all to know for real. But she's a real big softie for kids. And so, yeah. Honorable mention. That was all.
Cool. I kind of want to draw attention to even just things that mothers, or something that mothers do, Christian mothers specifically, do for their kids that may go a long way without the child ever even knowing.
Praying about
prayer.
Oh, okay,
yeah. It's so important, I think, to pray for your kids, to pray over your kids.
Yeah.
There's a song. Is it a song? I don't know. I remember it used to come on the gospel stations. It was more of like a story. Okay. I don't remember a song ever actually happening, but she would sing one part, and it would be, "But I had a praying grandmother," all the time. But it's so important to pray for your kids and to pray over your kids, because prayer has a real impact. And we don't always see it. We don't always see it right away. But it does. And I even think about my mother, who was praying for me a lot when I was in college and doing all kinds of stuff.
Oh, no.
And to the point where she had a whole prayer book, and half the prayer book is prayers that include me. It's called In Jesus' Name. Go check it out. But
I love it.
It's very important to pray for your kids, because God will hear those prayers and will, even if the child is off doing whatever, going astray, not really living the life that they should, God's covering can still be over them simply because you're praying for them.
Amen.
And so a mother's prayer, not that a father's doesn't, again, but
here we go.
We're not talking about fathers. A mother's prayer goes a long way. Yeah. And again, I think that also just speaks to just the heart of a mother. Yeah. Again, that expression of love and nurturing just comes out so much more in a mother. So what are some things that you pray over our kids?
So I started praying over them out loud, like in front of them in the mornings when we're waiting on the bus. And so I usually ask for them to like be safe, to have a good day, to learn, like kind of general stuff. But I've been asking for Trinity to be a little more patient and like, I guess, respectful, because I don't know, some days I'd be like, do you think you're like 25 or something? Like, what is happening to you? It's very demanding little girl, and I'm like, whoa. And then Wayne, I asked that he has a stronger heart, not that he has he's sickly kind of heart, but like he's very gentle. He's just so sweet. Yeah. And it's to the point where I be like, oh, these folks, if they keep messing with you, I'm gonna be mad. So I'm like, I want him to like stick up for himself, and like, yes, we're supposed to be gentle, we're supposed to be kind and patient, But then there comes a point when it's like you're being treated ill, and I don't want you to be like somebody's doormat. Like, I don't want that for him.
Yeah.
Because I say often, like, he's gonna make a really great husband to somebody one day, but at the same time, I don't want him to be abused. So, what?
Nothing. It reminded me of past stuff.
Because I'm lost now.
I feel like I was a lot like him in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it led to me being walked all over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do.
In my first relationship.
Right.
And so I'm kind of with you on, I want him to be able to stick up for himself, because the last thing I want is for some girl to come in and think that she can
just treat him.
Treat him however she wants.
Yeah.
Because that ain't going to fly.
It's not going to happen. I'm going to be so not.
Okay.
No. I'm going to be gatekeeping our kids for real. I'm not even going to lie. Gatekeeping. Yes. And that's including Trinity too, because she's she can be very sweet and kind and thoughtful. Like she when I was sick over spring break, no, that wasn't spring break. Whatever that weekend was, when I was in the room just blowing my nose for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that was last week, I think.
She brought me water, and I never asked her to. She brought me a banana. She brought me a little note. And she was, I'm just checking on you. And so, like, they both have these really kind qualities. And I can see how it would be great as a spouse. Like, how they could pour into their spouse in these ways. But at the same time, I know that we live in a world of sin. And, like, people see kindness and they try to take advantage of it. Or they try to abuse it or abuse that person. And I really want them to be so rooted in Christ and in who they are in Christ that they don't let that happen to them.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one of the things that I've been praying about, is for him to stick up for himself. Like, I don't care who they are. They can be an adult or another child. Do not let people treat you any kind of way.
That's good. That's good, because he's definitely, I wouldn't necessarily say he's a pushover.
No, because he still get a little rowdy.
Yeah. But he definitely is
easygoing.
Yeah, he's kind.
Yeah,
he has his moments where he pushes back, but it takes a bit.
Yeah,
for him to do that. And I would hate for somebody to take advantage of that, because his sister already kind of does sometimes.
And that's what I'd be trying to tell him. I'd be like, Wayne, you do not have to give her everything. He's like, no, it's okay. And I'm like,
but it's I mean, it is, but it's not.
Just tell her no. But anyway.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to pose this one.
So what you do is you open your mouth and you say the words.
So I don't know if okay.
Right.
What kind of advice would you give to like a single mother? And I don't the reason I was gonna say, like, I don't know how you would approach this, because you're not technically a single mother, but
technically it's crazy.
Because you think a single mother, you think a mother who's not only single, but typically the father is not involved.
Okay.
So they're kind of raising the child or children
alone,
pretty much by themselves. And maybe they have family, maybe they don't. What kind of encouragement do you think you could give to them? Don't force it.
No, I'm thinking. What kind of encouragement? I know parenting itself overall is like really tough. And so to not have a support system, regardless of how big or small, can be even more tough. Mm-hmm. So I would say when you find your village, lean into them. Like, don't feel like you have to handle everything by yourself. Honestly, I feel like that's a ploy of the devil to exhaust you. I've heard, well, how do you know if the daddy ain't gonna get it, I'm gonna get it on my own? It's like, but at some point you're gonna get tired, and that's just the truth of life. I can even say, even married, there have been times where I've called my mom and been like, look, I can see right now that I'm getting like very frustrated, and every little thing is getting under my skin. And she would keep the kids like a month. This is before they were in school, so like we didn't have to worry about that. And the first couple days I would just sleep. I feel like I was probably just tired, but I couldn't just get rest. So like when you get your village and you know, you weed out foolery, of course, lean into them and don't feel like you have to bear the burden of everything, because that's not how God built humans. We were built for community. He built Adam and Eve to be helping each other. So we need help just in general. So as a single parent, you definitely need help. So that's my only encouragement, is to lean into the help that's being offered.
Yeah. I think to piggyback off of that,
there we go.
That's why it's important to have a church home.
I agree.
Because a lot of that support can and should come from people within the church.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of churches out there that aren't as supportive as they should be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who have been hurt by the church, and that's understandable. But I think if you're going to a local church and they're not offering you the support that you need, or you know, they're mistreating you or whatever, don't just take that as a reason to not go to church anymore.
Yeah, maybe not that church.
Take that as, I need to find a different church. Yeah. who is going to who are a different church who's going to actually pour into me and support me. Absolutely. Give me the love, the support, the advice, the guidance, advice, the discipleship, and all that I need. Yeah. Because there's a lot of churches out there that will. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, there's a lot that won't. Yeah. But just stay away from those, you know. And it's unfortunate that sometimes you have to go through those things to kind of know, like, okay, this isn't a good church for me or whatever. Right. But don't let that deter you from the church as a whole. That's
why I said sift through the foolery.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's going to be abuse. There's going to be mishandling. There's going to be people who look at you side out. She a single mom? No. And she got all these cheering. And it's like, first of all, you never know people's life circumstances. And as the church, we're not sitting here to judge. We're sitting here to help each other.
Right.
But anyway. Yeah. I 100% agree. Because I tell you, it's hard out here. We even, like, we're married. Like, it's... Yeah. And it still be like, when y'all gonna keep y'all grandkids? Like, when y'all... I can't wait for summer break and they go to Sparta. Ugh, I'm just so excited. Yeah. Just want to go to sleep.
Yeah, and I mean, I can second that. Even, like you said, with us being married and, you know, doing it together, it's still a lot of times it's like, woo, I'm tired. Y'all ain't tired?
Y'all ain't tired yet?
Y'all ain't ready to... leave me alone for a couple weeks? Like,
I think my mom spoiled us, because it would just be like, we used to have to ask for our kids, be like, can I get my child back? And she'd be like, well, I don't know. I'm like, I remember when Trinity was born, she kept waiting for a couple months. Yes. Yeah. Like the first, I want to say 2 months, at least a month and a half. I want to say it was actually 2 months though that Trinity was born. My mom kept waiting, and we didn't have to worry about anything. Yeah. Like, I don't remember her asking for much. She just had him. Her we would call to talk to him, everyone, you know, and then that was it. Yeah. Her and Poopeye, they had it down. Yeah. And I am so grateful, because, I mean, not everybody gets that. And I feel like people really do need that. Like, if you have a child and, like, a new baby, you need time to just focus on that. new baby kind of thing. And,
for sure.
you know, your body's doing stuff and the child is also doing stuff. And he was still in diapers. Like, he was potty training and stuff. And, like, so.
I think he was, like,
3.
Potty trained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm just grateful for that village part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And, and like when Wayne was born, she actually came and stayed with us for a little while. She helped cook and change his diapers. And if I needed to go to sleep, I would just get out of the bed and give him to her and walk away. And she'd be like, I got him. I'm like, thank you. Because I was just tired all the time. But yeah, you need that. Sometimes you just need somebody to lean in on.
I got one more.
One more. Un más.
How do you think a mother's love reflects the love of Christ?
Ooh. How do you think a mother's love reflects the love of Christ? I feel like God being like a caring God, like cast your cares on him kind of thing. And like with a mom, we can go and like literally spill our hearts out to them and they're like, yes, my love, come talk to me. And being there for us, like no matter what. I feel like moms are quick to forgive their kids. Like sometimes your child has done wrong and they need discipline, but a mom is like always going to have your back unless you've just done something extremely terrible. And it's just like, it's kind of difficult for me to have your back right now. It's kind of hard to do. But I think moms are really like supportive. They push you along like with those gentle nudgings. And I feel like God can be like a you need to, but he also provides care to us in those times. So yeah, I think being caring, being gentle at times with us, and those gentle nudgings, like helping us along, kind of like a new lamb trying to stand up on his feet for the first time. Like I feel like moms are really good at, okay, you can lean on me until you can get your balance, and then like even with God, lean on me to get your balance, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's good.
What you think?
Yeah, the Bible talks about the Bible says cast your cares on the Lord. It says he'll keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on him. And so we get this image of, even though the Bible very often refers to God and even Jesus as male figures, right? God being the father, Jesus being the bridegroom. There are still elements of God's love that reflects a mother. And even in the Bible, there was the verse that I gave earlier about as a mother comforts her child, so I will comfort you. Also in Isaiah 49:15, can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has born? Though she may forget, I will not forget you. So there's this image of, even though God is a protector, a provider, a disciplinarian, characteristics of a father, Jesus with characteristics of a husband, being a protector, a provider, but also just loving, because the Bible commands husbands to love their wives like Christ loved the church. That self-sacrificial love. There is still this image of God caring for us in the way that a mother does. Like you said, lean on me, cast your cares on me. He says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. We don't just go to God for instruction. He doesn't just give us discipline. He gives us love. He gives us affection. He lets us come to him no matter what it is. He wants us to bring all of our issues to him.
He's a comforter.
Right. He's a comforter. And these are all things that we would attribute more so to mothers than to fathers.
Yeah. I love it.
So yeah, there's this is why, I believe that it takes both man and woman to kind of fully realize the love of God.
Yeah.
And I believe that is the purpose behind having both men and women to complement each other in society, is that men have a role and a purpose. Women have a role and a purpose. And when we come together and work together, then we reveal God's love.
Come on, Pastor.
Because it's not just, it's not just seen in one or the other. It's seen in both.
Right.
It's seen in the union, in the unity of it all. Even within the church, talks about the church is to be one and to move in unity and all that, because that's a reflection of God.
Right.
And we talked about the Trinity. Each, Father, Son, Holy Spirit has its own role, but they work in unison towards the same will.
Right.
So yeah, he created us on purpose,
with a purpose,
the way that he did on purpose, right? With a purpose. So we can't just look at, oh, well, he's the father and he's the groom, to be like, oh, well, men are the ones that mirror Christ on earth. No, we all do.
Yeah.
We all should be trying to mirror Christ. We may do that in different ways. But we all should be mirrors of Christ on earth.
Yeah. I love it. This is a good day.
I think so too.
No.
Look at that. You don't prepare and then God just does what he does. You know what I'm saying?
Provides. Amen. You don't prepare, God provides. I love it.
So, yeah, it was good.
I like it. What you gonna get me for Mother's Day?
I don't know yet. Mind you, today's not Mother's Day, okay? So I still got a week.
Calm down, y'all.
Just relax. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed that. We hope that you've gotten some word of encouragement, something to go home and hang on to. With that being said, we would like to invite you to come visit us. If you're looking for a church home, or you just want to visit our church, it's located at 6140 Highway 42 in Rex, Georgia, and it's called Total Renewal Church. We do a brunch and Bible study where you can eat and then you come into the sanctuary, sit down, and we have a discussion about the word. It's not just a preacher in the pulpit preaching at you the whole time. You get to ask questions, you get to give input, all that kind of stuff. It's a great environment, in my opinion, for learning. If you enjoyed the episode, please like the video and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you know when our new videos go live. Don't forget to share this with a friend or family member if it has blessed you, so it can bless them as well. Join the Discord. We have a Discord channel called the Millennial Christian Community. It is a community that we are trying to build for like-minded Christians, people who are curious about Christianity, to just come and fellowship, really. It's geared towards millennials and younger, but anybody is welcome to join.
Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff.
Yeah, like, share. Oh, audio. If you're listening on an audio platform, please leave a review, good or bad. Let us know what we did well or how we can improve. Again, we greatly appreciate you guys joining us and tuning in. And until next time, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
And I don't know what you see in me.